お前に頼みたいことができた。
おお、なんだ？何でも言ってくれ。
まあさすがに言いづれんだけどな。
遠慮はするな。
じゃあ頼む。ミーティーを殺してくれ。
Though its world may appear childish and innocent at the outset, Made in Abyss does not treat its subject matter lightly. The Abyss is full of bizarre environments, unknown creatures, and ancient artifacts, but while that may be its greatest appeal, an exploration of its depths is a life-threatening endeavor. The pursuit of adventure is generally a wondrous and inspirational thing, but in some cases, that experience can be downright terrifying. From the moment Reg and Rico depart Orth, an ominous sense of dread is constantly present, and the connections these kids make along the way only accentuates that atmosphere. Each break in the adventure serves to amplify the gravity of their journey, to remind them that, while it may be difficult to turn back now, their current path will eventually lead them to a point of no return. This would require them to make tremendous sacrifices, and as much as Rico would like to hide it, she knows that such sacrifices may be unavoidable in pursuit of her goal. As she attempts to strengthen her resolve in the face of Nat's pleas and warnings, tears well up in her eyes. And when she tries to leave her friends with a confident smile, she can't suppress her concerns. Due to the near suicidal nature of their quest, there is a strong possibility that these characters will never meet again, and so every departure feels like a final goodbye. Because of this, there are no happy endings to each arc, only bittersweet ones. Nearly all things in this world will never go back to the way they once were. Understanding that, people still continue, even today, to get up and take another step forward. This line of narration precedes the heartbreaking 13th episode of Made in Abyss, and it sets the tone for one of the most gruesome, yet beautiful sequences in the entire show. Her suffering rings out in her final words, "Kill me, kill me." And yet, in this new form, Miti cannot die. She is immortal, her soul trapped in this amorphous prison in which she can feel pain, shed tears, but cannot die. No matter what Nanachi tries, she can't find a way to free her, neither through restoring her humanity, nor putting her out of her misery. All her efforts cause is more suffering. When she understands that Reg could kill Miti and asks him to do so, Reg looks for alternatives, but Nanachi has tried them all. Medicines, poisons, all ineffective. She, more than anyone else, would love to bring Miti back. It's all she had dedicated her life to after escaping Bondrud's lab. But she doesn't have an eternity to search. Nanachi will one day die, and when that happens, Miti would be alone for the rest of time. So while a cure may exist somewhere in the Abyss, there's no telling how long it would take to find it. Years? Decades? Centuries? There comes a point when the reward isn't worth the hardship required to reach it. And though one would like to find solutions to everything, some problems won't, or simply can't be resolved. Everyone has or will have to deal with death at several points in their life, but I think the process is made even more daunting when it's gradual. At the outset, no matter how slim the odds of survival may be, one can still hope. Yet, as time moves on, those slim odds seem to grow weaker and weaker. Watching someone slowly waste away to nothing, whether through illness or age, is excruciating. So when that person finally passes, it can be a little relieving in a sense. It's still incredibly sad because that person will never come back. But the silver lining comes in the knowledge that their suffering is over. This isn't a happy notion, but it's something to latch on to, something to cope with. What I loved about Made in Abyss was that it didn't shy away from the pain. These events could have built into a more uplifting conclusion, but life isn't always so optimistic. I love a sappy happy ending when I can get one, but stories like this serve as reminders that even fairy tales can be imperfect. Fictional characters can suffer from the same problems that real people do. You and I are not alone. Shit like this will happen, and sometimes we just have to accept that. It can be tough, it can be unfair, but in spite of that, we ultimately have to overcome it and move forward. That person you once held dear may be gone, but you can still carry their legacy with you. Remember what they meant to you, what they desired out of you, and use those memories to keep fighting. By doing so, you can instill the same burning desires in someone else.
ナナチ、約束してくれ。ミーティがいなくなっても、自ら命を絶ったりしないって。
しねえよ。リコを直さなきゃだろ。
リコを直した後もだ。
残酷だな。
Nanachi's biggest fear was condemning Miti to an eternal loneliness. But with her death, it is instead Nanachi who suffers from that loneliness. Her best friend is gone, and yet Reg begs her to continue living. She clearly isn't fond of the notion, and it's certainly possible that her decision to join Riko and Reg is nothing more than a roundabout way of killing herself, but the parallel that she draws between her bond with Miti and that of Riko and Reg might just give her a new reason to live. Reg's biggest fear, that Riko will die and leave him alone in the abyss, is the backbone of that parallel. He is virtually indestructible, immune to the curse of the abyss, and yet he becomes anxious whenever he and Riko are separated. He panics when she is endangered. In spite of his tremendous power, he's kind of useless without someone to guide him. And that could be as much of a risk to Riko's life as her own weaknesses. Reg showed his capabilities when Nanachi gave him directions, performing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation without hesitation, but before that, he completely froze. If not for Nanachi, Riko would have died from the poison, possibly right there in Reg's arms. From this, it's clear that Reg was still not fit to protect Riko, and though Nanachi was able to heal her this time, that won't stop a similar scenario from occurring again. The old saying goes that if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach that man to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime. Nanachi was able to heal Riko, in essence giving Reg a fish, but she also taught Reg how to fish, how to better protect Riko, by explaining her medical procedure and helping him defeat the orbed piercer that attacked them. Instead of killing herself outright, she could continue to impart this wisdom on Reg even after Miti's death. And by doing so, Miti's sacrifice, her legacy, could live on through these kids. The death scene itself takes place in this beautiful forest that seems reminiscent of the Abyss's upper layers. Back then, the use of bright greens conveyed a sense of life and wonder within the Abyss, and it emphasized how exciting the prospect of exploring its depths could be. As our characters descend deeper into the Abyss, those greens become darker and muddier, stressing the heightened danger of exploring the lower levels. The Seeker Camp offers a degree of safety to our characters, but those darker greens seem to represent their vulnerability rather than any form of comfort. This idea is furthered in that scene, where the characters hit another low point on top of this mossy rock. After Nanachi comes to their aid, we see how, despite being located in the 4th layer, Nanachi's home and the environment it's attached to is bathed in the same bright green colors we saw in the 1st layer. This place is a safe haven at a time when our protagonists are utterly defenseless, and the scenery reflects that. Made in Abyss does an incredible job at commanding its tone, switching from comfy to comedic to melancholic to frightening to aggressive and anything in between. Whether gradual or harsh, these shifts are always effective, and it's through combining every subtle detail, from the backgrounds to the voice acting, that the show's most emotional moments hit as hard as they do. In meeting her end, Miti is able to escape the pain of her immortal hell, and that is what the environment plays into the most. Not the murder or the loneliness, but the freedom. In this lush green forest full of vibrancy and life, Miti is finally set free. Following this event, Nanachi refers to Miti as her treasure. To further the parallel between Nanachi and Reg, she later refers to Riko as Reg's treasure, and thanks Miti for pulling Riko out of her coma. Just as Miti bore the brunt of the curse to let Nanachi survive, her death seems to bring Riko back to life. So while Nanachi may have sacrificed her treasure, she was able to preserve Reg's treasure and gain a new purpose in life. If Nanachi can no longer live with Miti, she can live with what Miti left behind, her legacy. And by fighting to preserve that legacy, she can prolong both Miti's story and her own for a bit longer, if only just a bit. I realize I'm a few months late to this one, but Made in Abyss is just an incredible show, and that last episode was on a truly on a different level. It might even be one of my favorite episodes in anime to date, though I still have a lot of anime to watch, so take that as you will. I want to give a huge shout out to all my patrons, namely King Kevin 30, Micah Dunn, Stone Cold 0007, and India Charbonneau for helping making videos like this possible. Last month, I not only switched over to monthly, but I also started up a patron-exclusive Discord server, which I don't think everyone who has already pledged to me has access to, so I kind of wanted to boost that here. And also, if you were ever interested in pledging in the first place, or if you're interested in pledging now, there's a Discord, so we can have a chat over there if that interests you. In other news, my Nechi no Susume, or Recovery of an MMO Junkie video, has been contesting some copyright over the last, month. I got 2 different claims on it. I was able to refute the first, but now I'm disputing another one. So yeah, that video is kind of jumping in and out of the ether, but hopefully I'll be able to win this one, and that video will be available permanently for your viewing pleasure. If it is, you can click that video in the annotation thing here. If it's not there, then you'll see something else that might be to your liking. Until next time, keep on YouTubing.